Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Hope you're doing well today on this Tuesday. Probably cut these cards about 10,000 times already, but hey, what's 10,003? All right. I do have something to say. I know I keep saying I'm trying to cut back on my chit chat, but I have something to say because last night I watched the Twin Flames documentary. I think it's on Netflix too, and I thought it was exclusively on Netflix. Otherwise, I would have watched it a while ago. But I actually stumbled across it on Prime. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know this was on here. And I forget what the title is, but the subtitle is something like Escaping the Twin Flame Universe or something like that. And it's kind of like an expose on this couple that, they've been dubbed to be they've been tagged to have been running, or still be actually, because I think it's still present, running a cult that pretty much like almost brainwashes their followers or participants into these expensive coaching sessions and other impressionable actions and reactions on account of being a part of this community, right? All in the name of finding your twin flame, your true spouse, your divine partner, however you want to say it, but twin flame is the tag that they use. And it was very interesting. I definitely, if you have any connection particularly to that term and the spiritual community, I definitely suggest that you watch it because it was interesting. It was entertaining. I won't go too hard on my judgment toward the couple, but what I will say is what really struck me is this, is that, and it's just like the adverse energy to slide in something that just has a little bit of truth or some truth but some falsehood in it and blow it up in a way that almost makes it, like law to some degree. Because, and I'm saying this to say that there are definitely, as there even are in the spiritual community, in any community, in church and in entertainment, literally anywhere you go, there will be somebody that will infiltrate that space and exploit it for their own gratification, satisfaction, personal power, preference, whatever the case may be. There are frauds in every capacity of creativity, in every capacity of anything. How about that? There are even doctors that are fraudulent or that don't really care as much about the patients as they really should and are just there for a paycheck or for whatever, purpose that position holds. So it's definitely no surprise to me that frauds are in the twin flame community. I mean, you see it even every day if you know what to look for and what to listen out for, that people use their platforms for a myriad of different reasons for the purposes of some return or reward. But what's unfortunate to me is that it's on such a public stage, this scrutiny of not because it doesn't just project itself to be the scrutiny of this couple and what they do or don't stand for and how true or false their community and their teachings and even preachings to some degree are. It really reflects a poor light on the idea of divine union in general. It almost scoffs at it in a sense because of how the projection of the story comes across. It almost makes you feel it projects the community, the previous community affiliates as almost like foolish to some degree, by their own admission, because they're sharing their stories too willingly, but it projects their co-creativity in this community as almost foolish, like they were, like when they look in hindsight, they're like, how could they have been taken for such a full type of vibe, right? When ultimately they were just looking for love. You know what I mean? Like not unlike many people throughout this world are looking for companionship or some solution to their loneliness, you know, to some degree. And then here comes these two people that propose to have a cure or some type of, you know, healing for their heartbreaks. And the rest is all history, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that the truth of the matter of the experience between the affiliates, the community, and the leaders themselves is what it is. And I can't really speak on it because, of course, the projection of the story was very, very one-sided. You know, it definitely was to present the to prove the notion that this was a cult and that people were being taken advantage of. And to be honest with you, they didn't leave much to be doubted in that regard. It definitely seemed a bit funny, a bit phony, and it felt like to some degree, even if the couple had good intentions at the core, or at least in the beginning, somewhere down the line, ego may have taken over and things just got a bit distorted. And, you know, that's not an uncommon story, especially when you're talking about a rise or expansion of power over people in particular. And then when money's involved. So there's that. Nothing fantastical about that storyline. But what I hate about it is, again, is the poor reflection of the idea of divine unions. And I don't say twin flame very often anyway, because I feel like it's been bastardized, the term itself, so much that even just like the show in itself, it almost puts a bad stigma on it, and it's so distorted as to what it is, what it isn't, and subjective as well, because depending on who you talk to, it could mean something different. It could be a very good experience, could be a negative one, but there's just no linear, you know, no singular expression for that term to really refer to it in any generalistic way. But I'll say in love in its purest form is what the deflection really poorly impacted. You know, what the perception poorly deflected onto that ideal. You know, that by the end of it, it's like, well, shoot, does my divine spouse exist? Is what you could be thinking to yourself, or to think about someone that you felt was a so-called soulmate, you know, or someone that you really had a connection to. Was it just all in my mind, or am I just desperate for love? Am I desperate not to be alone? God forbid if you actually have some stored up hope for a future connection of sorts. It just, for me, it just seemed like a real slam to the hope of love in its purest form, which I feel is very is necessary. You know, if there is not that, you know, then what is there? You know what I mean? Like, of course, that hope and that idealism should ultimately lead you internally, you know, as the Lover's card projects, to really see where you're missing that connection with yourself, or where some voids may need to be filled internally, surely, certainly, so that you don't feel like you need to be completed by anything externally. Most certainly. That's universal no matter what. But to then kind of like bruise the concept that there is the other side of that, of such as the Lover's card, where at some point in time you become an attractive force for someone that would want to take that journey with you, if that's what you're open to. Not everybody is, but I feel like it does a disservice for those that are or would be open to divine love, divine union, universal connection, whatever the case may be, on a more spiritual, less practical, I guess practical too, but not just the humdrum of we just together because we have to be, or there's some common goal, or some common synergy here as to why we need to be together. And when on in truth, I feel we are all being called to aspire to that higher expression and experience of love, first internally and then one to another, to create a more holistic life experience. Otherwise, it just continues to be a cycle of necessity. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents about it. But I just really did feel like, as I was watching it, it was like, this is interesting. And, I had my thoughts and opinions about the couple. Like I said, I definitely could see, I could see where things kind of went maybe went a bit left, or there were some distortions and opportunities for, I don't know, like, you can watch it and see for yourself, but I was really concerned about the overall message. First of all, with those that had the negative experience, like they just seemed so downtrodden, so sad and so hopeless, like thankful to be out of the contempt of the community, because that was a whole nother thing that definitely wasn't, the way it was reflected, presented anyway, it didn't seem like a healing space or a connection. But the aftermath of it all is like they just, it seemed like they just kind of got dropped down into hopelessness. Like, well, damn, I gave all of my time and energy to this, and that clearly was a sham. So after that, where do you go? How do you feel? What's real to you? What is worth hoping for or having faith for at that point? When something you built up so much commitment and devotion to lets you down so sadly, And I feel like that's the great disparity with these couples out here, whether it be casually or with the malintent of, an exchange, really trying to pull the wool over their followers' eyes, of projecting this false union and ideal of relationship and partnership, because it's really selling a dream. Be better off to just share what's really true about the aspect of partnership that you can profess to, than it would be to present a lie and post it up as something that's attainable, when it's not even what you're, isn't the product is not even what you're selling. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I felt some type of way about that, though. I felt some type of way. And then it just gives leverage to those that want a reason to scoff at the possibility, the ideal of love and divineness, or, sacred anything. It's like, ha, ha, like, y'all fools, look at this, and it's just like a small example, even as it is in this large platform here. They're far, well, I can't say that for sure, but I feel like there are more in the spiritual community, those that actually do succeed in one way, shape, or form, and not by followers and views or, anything like that, but those that are really walking in the purpose that they feel called to be in one way, shape, or form. I feel like that's a much more solid ground of force and impression and impact than the ones that are really just out for self. At least now in this time, I feel like those scales are balancing out too, and people are kind of like eliminating themselves in one way, shape, or form as the veil has been drawn. But it's like it's a hard comparison when you see what, it's like you could prop up one fraud against 10 who are true, and that fraudulent perspective is going to speak volumes, especially on a mass media scale where people have a wide range of access to this information. They may never come in contact with someone who's real, say even on YouTube, that really does have a story or a testimony to share, and does have a testament to healing and self-love, and how that does lead to more of a sacred love and this and that. They may never get to that source and that reference for the fact that they saw escaping twin flame universe and have been, damaged to the whole concept altogether. Like, ain't no such thing as twin flames. That's just that the whole thing is a sham, a big fraud, and nobody, there's no such thing as divine love. There's no such thing as a soulmate and this, and it's just as the adverse energy would. It's like it just completely just tainted the truth, the whole truth, with a portion of the darkness, like a drop of blood into that water, that clear water, and then now the whole thing is tainted, more or less, if you've seen it or if you haven't. But that's just how I feel. Oh, look at that. The Queen of Cups, the most loving queen on the deck. Exactly. It's like you can't tell her that true love doesn't exist. You can't tell her that she isn't true love, a projection of it. That compassion isn't still a commodity. That even intuitive intelligence, because that came into play with the storyline as well, that these two individuals were proclaiming to be, tapped into some spiritual level that made them superior, made their not just their practical advice, but their spiritual advice superior. They tapped in, so they know, they got a direct line to the divine, and so they know exactly. They know what they're saying. They were even as bold as to give it like a strong guarantee that if you do this X, Y, and Z, if you follow our guidance, you're guaranteed to find the love of your life, type of thing. And it's like, I don't know. I'm not going to try to bounce it back and forth off of that, but as you can see, I'm vexed by it. I'm pretty vexed by it because I don't really know how to settle with it in terms of, because I know it's just like right on time, because I know that what's happening in the earth is that people are coming into alignment with their divine partner, or partners are elevating to a new level of ascension together, collectively, to be a bit of a beacon of sorts for love and for light and for what luxuries can come of that pure partnership. And to have the contention with such a thing as that to fight against, I guess that's how it's always been, even with religion. And for every religion in the book, particularly Christianity, has always had its naysayers, its scoffers, and so on and so forth. But it's just like, now is just not the time to have to fight with that type of contention when there's so much work to be done, that people need to be able to see clearly the value of their investment in and their hope and faith invested in that ideal. Of course, not in folly or in fantasy, but that is very real and also very necessary, So this is the energy of one that knows that, with the Queen of Cups. So let's see what else we got. Now, I didn't talk too much again, I know, so we're going to keep it fast and keep it cute. Look, here's a single lady up in the sunshine. Yeah, but this is the reality of it. It's like once you've come to a place of contentment and in your independence, it's like, what else is there to do? There's way too many, but look. Yeah, the Empress, Emperor, wow, Ace of Cups, 10 of Cups, exactly. And this is the energy. It's like, well, what else is there? You know what I mean? And it shouldn't be a matter of indecision or uncertainty at this point. Unfortunately, it just should be an openness and a willingness to whatever it gets to be. Of course, that it doesn't have to be anything. Yeah. But a willingness to be in devotion to whatever that victory gets to be, however that gets to look on the other side. This is the Sun card. Again, independence. The Sun card is prosperity, productivity. Here's the actual work in the physical form, and devotion, commitment to whatever the thing is. If we're talking about relationships here, if we're talking about self-work, even, you know what I mean? Like perhaps the sun being the illumination of the so-called work that gets to be done internally and personally, and that there can be a victory and success in that regard. And even if that's what it leads to, almost prominently so, like if that's the main purpose of even the posture of faith for love or partnership, then by God, that's definitely worth the projection in the first place. If it brings you to an elevated space of self-awareness and assuredness, stability, independence in some regard. And this is like with the Nine of Pentacles, is independence in a way that's not like it's not like, well, I don't read it as someone who necessarily is resistant to partnership. It's just someone that knows the value of who and what she is and where she is, even someone that appreciates her independence and perhaps even appreciates singlehood to some degree. It's not someone that's yearning to be in connection or partnership with anybody else to feel completed in any way, but it's someone that definitely has an open posture to it. It's a harmonious balance, I think, even and all the while working on self, working on the things that make you happy, working on whatever you feel destined to do or designed to create in this world, and being so contented with that work that you find a great success and accomplishment and achievement just in that alone. That for sure is like a prosperous place of manifestation of partnership right there. Not the desperation, not the, I feel so alone, I feel so needy. Like, yeah, feeling like you have to absolutely have. This is a bit of a codependence to me, where it's definitely a like collaborative energy type of card with the Three of Pentacles, but in this regard, it gives the energy that they need each other to create some outcome or for something to be materialized in some ideal way. Where the Nine of Pentacles definitely stands alone. Now, the other thing is that it's okay to be open to co-creativity, and it's not that any man has to be an island, at least not eternally, and even when you are in solitude, you never really are alone anyway, especially given the sun right here too. It's like you're never really alone, but it's this energy. The contrast here for me is the dependency of others, other support, others understanding, creativity, ideas, even material, like that one might feel conditioned to need in order to stand alone or in order to feel secure and stable in any regard. That's the contrast here. That was the Six of Pentacles, give and take, have and have nots. Perhaps that's the disparity here in the life experience that we're creating. And then here's the Nine of Wands, where ultimately is where that codependency can lead in a lower vibration. Maybe it feeling like you depended too much on things outside of you and didn't really stand in the purity of your own passion. That's what this reflective look gives a lot of times with the Nine of Wands. Someone that may have stretched themselves a bit thin, overexerted, maybe people pleasing, maybe, trying to fit into society in a certain type of way, or just conforming in such a way or acting in such a way to conform with the expectations of society or of family and friends or whatever collaborative effort this may be, as opposed to standing alone or standing, in solitude, maintaining a certain solitude until a prime opportunity for connection presents itself. This really with the Nine of Wands gives somebody who definitely was plugging into too many sources and forces. perhaps at once. And then we got let's see, one more, the King of Pentacles. Yeah, like, look, this is all very conventional stuff with the King of Pentacles and the Hierophant. This is establishment of society. This is now I'm feeling different about this. It's like, you motherfucker. I'm tired of reading on this. Like, somebody who's looking back at a collaboration that didn't go as planned, didn't really yield the results that they anticipated, didn't put them on the pedestal that they worked so hard to get to and to maintain. A society that probably chewed them up and spit them out at this point. This was the ideal, to not just be materially wealthy and sound and stable, and to have like a certain prominence in position or esteem or something like that. But it's like somebody wanted to be superior in a position of power. That's what the difference of these two are. Like the Hierophant is someone that, it's like the Pope, or a judge or a spiritual leader, and here it's kind of like that energy, right, that I was talking about earlier. There's definitely never a reason of a coincidence as to why I start off saying what I'm saying, So this could be that energy, as I was saying, about these couples. But particularly, this is a masculine who's not feeling satisfied with how he's fared in his, and that's it. And if you watch the show or you watch it, this is kind of where, the leader, the masculine leader, was leaving off. Like, it started off being very much so, more fixated in projection of wealth and prosperity, and then it started to almost become like this projection of supremacy, like all-knowing, all-powerful. You need to listen to me because I have the knowledge, I have the wisdom, God is with me type of vibe. That was the energy here. And it's like, clearly it's all projective in this case anyway, on this board, and maybe even in that case of the story that I'm talking about, the show that I'm talking about. But it's a reflection of someone that really is more codependent on, it's like they really don't even feel they could sustain that position if it was pure, but in truth, it's like they're not even able to get to this place of supremacy without the validation and the affirmation of people and things outside of them. It's like the laughability of it all, even with the story, because if it's not for the community, what really deems you some guru or some spiritual leader or some lord of light and love in whatever way it projects itself to, or he or she projects themselves to be. So it's funny because, in order for you to really pronounce yourself to be a powerful force, you kind of have to present yourself as an independent one. Like you would have to be able to project yourself to be able to stand alone on your own, with or without anyone to co-sign, affirm, follow, or even understand your purpose. But this is someone that isn't, it ain't that, which is how, maybe that's how you can kind of tell, because maybe a lot of this is what it is, false prophetism. Like false prophets are emerging, or have emerged, and now are kind of being stripped down to some degree. And if you're still someone that's susceptible to being misguided in some way, shape, or form, maybe it's just a way to consider the source, to really consider the source of that projection. Like, if you strip it all down, does it stand alone, or is this somebody that's only elevated or exalted because of the people that they put in place to do so? You know what I mean? I don't even know if that makes sense or why I'm saying that, but I am. So, because power is power and it stands alone. It doesn't need to be pronounced by any external force. It doesn't, it doesn't need to be, like exactly, high priestess. It doesn't need any stamp of approval. The high priestess is a mystical character to a great degree. And consider, no shade to the Hierophant card in its most upright position, but consider the difference between the Hierophant and the vibration that I'm speaking of, where he has two people kind of at his feet, maybe not bowing down, but definitely you see the difference, the disparity between their levels, that there's some subservience or submission to some degree to whatever it is, some deference. There it is, some deference to his position, or even to his point of view. If it's not like some actual position of power, but just an ideal, like elitism to some degree, there always needs to be a little man for that so-called elite to feel their position is validated. When it's like, you got hella money, you got, you know what I mean? Like, why you need to make someone else feel small in order to feel grand? That's a true testament right there that what the projection is not really, it's not real. You know what I mean? It's definitely not sustainable. But the high priestess is submissive to her supreme self, which she, depending on who you are and how you value it, and this is masculine or feminine, but this energy within you, of the divine feminine, ultimately, is in submission to a source that's beyond her. It doesn't go the other way around. Like, she finds her value in the submission to a more supreme source than she does to project supremacy over another. That's the difference there. You know what I mean? It's like, it's weird. But that's a telltale sign right there. It's like the rest, and with the high priestess, this is a character that stands alone. Like, you may not even catch her, you know what I mean, like out and about in the public. This is a type of individual that's almost hermit-like. You don't really see them out and about, definitely not always up in the mix, in the place to be and at every party, every gathering. Not necessarily, someone that's very selective with their energy, with their time, with how they engage the world in general, because we know that there's a lot of aggravated energy out there in the world, unfortunately, and someone that's truly in an exalted position ethereally and energetically knows that it's their presence is sacred, and because it's sacred, it neither needs to be affirmed by association or confirmed by contempt of those outside of her. You know what I mean? Like, meaning really that deference concept where she feels exalted because she puts other people down. No, she feels exalted because she's always aspiring to higher, to be ascended with that, that calling of self that's even beyond who she was the day before, you know what I mean? Or how she thought last week, or what she did last year. There's just this devotion to ascension always and eternally. That is what ultimately is the exaltation, not someone that needs to look around and see people that are doing worse than them or have less than them, or to project their power in such a way that is almost, abusive, or definitely aggressive to some degree as to how they feel they're on their high horse. You know what I mean? That's the difference here. And I gotta say, like the dude, what was his name? I think his name was David. I can't remember. The guy was definitely veering the left into that territory where he was starting to be a bit abusive, tearing people down in the community, aggressive, condescending. They even alluded to him studying and incorporating some tactics of mind control and manipulation, and even hypnotics and things, which I've spoken about before, But here we got the Three of Pentacles, the Three of Swords, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Ace of Swords. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like what I heard immediately was like the difference between how we sow from our traumas and the toxicities that you can't get around. That's almost a natural harvest to some degree. Like how you reinvest or even heal from that energy or not is what affords the outcome of the disparities that I'm talking about here, where you have one who takes their trauma and their unfavorable experiences, learns and grows from them, finds the points, the lessons, the points of healing, finds the opportunities to advance their own, advance their own personal understanding, to some degree, understanding more off than anything, like understanding more about yourself than you even necessarily need to know about the outside or whatever the external influence may have been to cause this experience. And then there are those that kind of, the disparity here is the one who needs to be validated, and it's on account of the fact that they never did quite heal those traumas. They found ways to shift the blame outside of themselves, or to relieve themselves of any accountability or responsibility to make a change or do anything different, even if there was no accountability or there was no responsibility for what was absorbed or experienced. There still lies an accountability on self always to figure out what to do with it, how to alchemize that energy to some degree to make it prosperous, energy, and not something that's going to continue to promote the same cycle of toxicity, meaning somebody that's been hurt and now they do hurt, that continues on in that vein. So that's the energy, that's the disparity here. Now the Queen of Swords is like, I'm wondering what that's about. Let me move this up a little bit. I'm gonna do one more row. Because the Queen of Swords, of course, in the highest vibration is somebody that is very objective, somewhat emotionally detached. Like she's not necessarily like fixated on emotional. She's definitely not emotionally dependent in any way, shape, or form. Like probably too detached in some ways, but I don't know, maybe sometimes it calls for that depending on what stage of experience that you're in. Let me see, let me get one on the other side of the Queen of Swords. Too many. What she got her sword up to? Let's just see. To the Three of Cups. Oh, okay. So this is like the need to be apart. This is another reflection as with the Three of Pentacles, but it's more on a, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, more on the emotional level of wanting to, needing, not just wanting, but in this case with the disparity here, needing to feel affirmed, confirmed, to feel a part of the whole or a part of something or understood, um, to feel, like somebody gets you, like she's got her sword up to that because it's like, especially particularly if you're in a high priestess energy, sometimes you just don't have that luxury, just straight out and plain, to be understood, for people to get where you're coming from, to know, to even be able to relate to your position, like your position of your vision, your objectivity, your way of communicating. Like, some people are just drunk off of the spirit of conformity to some degree, going along to get along, that sometimes a Queen of Swords can be like, you know, it can be a bit harsh, like it can be not harsh in the sense that you have to be offensive, but sometimes it's just, there's a bit of a clash there in synergizing energy, such as one that is willing to stand alone and is okay with that, and those that not only want to feel included but also don't understand why someone wouldn't want to. It's like, I don't know. I don't even know why I'm saying all this right now. I feel a little bit lost in this reading. I'm not gonna lie to you. Not lost in the sense that I don't know what I'm saying, but it's like, it's not really clicking for me. I know when I'm feeling it, and right now I'm just kind of like, okay, like, what are we talking about here right now? Seriously. Maybe perhaps the energy that we're in right now, finding some grounding with your uniqueness, your conservatism to some degree, even amidst, like, this could be even celebrations. This could be a return of lovers that feel like, they looking back, feeling like, literally looking back and feeling like, man, I should have invested more into her, or invested more into this or that or they. And not feeling very favorable about what their outcome has been on account of other intentions or investments. And this is perhaps the ideal posture, to be open but still be very discerning, like to keep your boundaries reasonably honest, you know what I mean, for the most part, against kind of falling into play with things that are a bit out of your wheelhouse right now. Like, this is the sword, this is the cups, and it's like, okay, maybe they may look like they're having a good time, or it may even project itself to be a good time possibly, but really being discerning, particularly in this season, about what's going to be best for you holistically, mind, body, and spirit. What's the best, with the best environment to be in, the best for your own mindset also, really, even, I would say in this regard, more of a protection on your mind field than anything, and perhaps even on the cultivation of this peace and supremacy that you've been, solidifying to some certain degree outside of toxicity, or on account of, despite of toxicity and trauma, like being mindful as to what you roll yourself back into, lest to be a trigger, to go right back to where you started to some degree, or to backtrack in ways that are just not ideal. Considering the top of this here is about security and independence and prosperity, like looking forward to only prosperity and productivity, being devoted to working on self and focusing on your own success by your own terms, not really falling into this pitfall here of worrying about what other people are doing and how they're doing it, and if you fit into that regard or not, and worrying even particularly about material wealth. Like, some exuberant exchange for your energy per se. Just knowing the value as it is and that it stands all alone on its own, and that you're magnetic force for that, but not fixating on doing things or putting yourself in positions for the point of what's the right word? Apprehending any particular status or financial affluence, or you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm trying to say. And then the hierophant, of course, is by way of those societal concepts and ideals and, you know, conventions that, again, may or may not be in alignment with who you've been called, this new expression of you that you've been cultivating so clearly to you, whether it's clearly to anyone else. This is what it is for you. You know, it's like, it doesn't mean the rest of the world stops. Yeah, here it is. It doesn't mean the rest of the world certainly doesn't stop trying to provoke conformity, you know, maybe even insist upon it in some ways, you know, but it's your responsibility. That was the star card almost came up, to stay focused on your path, to keep healing, to stay committed to, you know, that star power, meaning your yeah, and there's that prosperity there, that star power, yeah, i.e. your destiny, not celebrity power. We're talking about destiny here, which looks different than, you know, there could even be a formula for celebrity to some degree, let the industry tell it. But when it comes to the star card and healing and destiny and your North Node and where you truly feel aligned in purpose and in spirit and in truth, that's something that is incomparable to anything you'll see outside of yourself. So it definitely can't be dictated otherwise, you know? So we got the 10 of Cups here, the Knight of Cups, and the Knight of Cups is offering to the Queen of Wands, who's not paying him any mind, but is looking at this potential intruder, you know, the security breach, as she should be. Just pretty much in line with what I've been saying, like staying focused on, you know, keeping your boundaries secure. She's not getting up to go fight him. She's just keeping an eye out on what potential disturbances there may be. And with this, her wand here, it's almost a barrier to any potential offers that are not in alignment with what? The 10 of Cups, as it would be most idealized to have in general, the fullness of happiness and wholeness right up here under the High Priestess as a reward for her healing in the ways of toxicity and trauma. Truly, you know, this is the whole of that that reward, you know, not some one cup of the 10, and it's not even a king at that, it's the Knight. It's like no to that. And it's like also I'm watching the pot, like he's almost trying to distract her, you know, with this offer over here, while someone else tries to slip in and perhaps do some real damage. It's, you know, it's like you got to keep your guard up more or less on all accounts. But the most important thing is to just stay focused. You're most protective and projective of your own prosperity, just continuing to stay in alignment with your own integrity. You know, like I said, she's not getting up off the throne for either one. It's like, I know who I am. I know I'm the Queen of Wands. I know I can make anything happen that I set my mind to. I know that I have the power to protect myself against anything that will come my way. Like, this is someone who has a force field around them, you know, that's pretty hard to pierce. And that's the confidence of the Queen of Wands by the nature of the card. You know, that boldness, that courage, that confidence. There's not much that she has to physically do. It's all the projection of that power from within. But you don't get to maintain that posture by deferring to every projection, you know, in your immediate surroundings or even beyond. You don't get to do that by deferring to what the world tells you should be doing at this time or at this age, or because you're a woman, or because you're a man, or because you're this race, or because you come from this place. You don't get that by deferring to what your family and friends expect of you to do. You don't get that by deferring to the fact that you had slated, you walked a certain path, and focus on a certain intention all your life, and now your heart tells you need to make a left turn, but it's just completely out of alignment with where you've been going thus far. You don't get to maintain this place of confidence and protection and boldness and courage, being afraid to take a chance, to take a risk, to follow the adventures of the spirit as they're truly aligned in your mind and body and soul, not just folly, flying off the seat of your pants. But we're talking about somebody that's in alignment, that you don't get to be in this position waiting for your knight in shining armor, perhaps, precisely here with the Knight of Cups, not wanting to make a move or not feeling whole and complete until you have your knight in shining armor by your side. You get to this place already believing that this is already done, if that's what you desire to have, right? And you don't get finessed also out of a position such as this, and such as, like I said, many of the ladies particularly that were participants of that community that I was talking about. You don't get finessed into more or less selling your soul into something that is not really satisfying and gratifying holistically, because that the value of your partnership is so high that it can't be dictated by any external force anyway. It comes from the inside out, and it comes from the co-creativity between you and your supreme self, your spirit, your source, whatever you submit to, surrender to, align with, co-create with, pray to, believe in, whatever it is, even if it's just you, that would be enough in terms of not being finessed beyond that. Even someone that is so devout unto their own self would it would be a hard time for someone else to come and psych you out of that otherwise, if it really truly is a devotion there. So whether from a so-called small scale between self or supreme scale between source and anything in between, what matters most is that the co-creativity, the connection is solid. You know what I mean? That is stable, it's sound, it's secure. It sustains itself. It doesn't need any outside validation or affirmation. And that there is whatever the happily ever after or happy ending may be, particularly with the 10 of Cups, that can look like anything for anyone, literally anything, but that there is something of value to look forward to is also important. Something of value to believe in that's beyond where you are in this moment. How else do we aspire to continue on and do more? Because certainly our present surroundings don't always give us the hope and the faith to do so, So this is someone that's well guarded, well stabilized in her own. It's like she knows that this is secure over here. It's nothing to really worry about. It's already done. That's why it's at the beginning of this and not at the end. This is already secure and stabilized, and all she gets to do is keep on being her, pretty much. Keep on being her. So let's see. Eight of Cups. Oh, and there it is. There's the gift. Again, I think this came out yesterday with the Ace of Pentacles, and this is someone that sometimes, you may need to abandon some old ideals, some people, some places, some things, some thoughts about yourself, some philosophies about life, what you're worthy of, what you're not, what you're capable of, what you're not, what is what power you're privy to, and or not. You know what I mean? Like this is the energy here, like that sometimes there needs to be a disconnection from things we've invested a great deal of ourselves in with the Eight of Cups, to have that big long-term lifelong investment with the Ace of Pentacles, the thing that we want most. You know, it's like the Eight of Cups, you kind of like almost with the Eight of Wands to some degree, but this is more energetic and physical to some degree. And this is more so emotional and spiritual, you know, that you poured out a lot of the essence of you into things that didn't necessarily give you the return that you were looking for, you know. And for a lot of us, that's just by way of the conventions of society in general, feeling like I said, we had to go a certain way or do it for a certain time or be with a certain crowd or submit to a certain community, be a part of a certain, you know, like all of this pretty much Hierophant stuff, you know, to fit in, to be counted for, to be understood, to be heard, to be seen, to be congratulated, or whatever the case may be. This is all of that investment here with the Eight of Cups, feeling like you've given all that you can give, and you know, there's not much more to be satisfied. You know, you could continue to give, you have it to give, but that there's not much more to gain from that investment at this time, you know, not for you, you know. And now it might be an opportunity to go elsewhere to be fulfilled holistically. That big thing, that grand experience that you're looking for, that you're believing for, because this is of an ethereal nature with the aces, right? It's not just something that this is someone that could have worked 8 and 8, could have worked his fingers to the bone, poured his heart, blood, sweat, and tears into a thing, and you could do that even for 8 years perhaps, and it's still not turn around to be the wish fulfillment, the spiritual fulfillment, the energetic ambition and incitement of ambition that you desire it to be. The difference here, the disparity here, is between those that don't find value in that, like the ones that may be resolved perhaps to say, well, I guess there's no such thing as a divine union, or there's no such thing as a happily ever after, or maybe it's just not in the cards for me to have it all. Maybe it's not my destiny to actually love what I do, you know, or to make a living doing what I love. Those are the ones that stay in the place of the Eight of Cups and dwell there feeling dissatisfied, and the ones that know that there's more and that they are capable of more and they're worthy of more are the ones that go and find it, you know, that will leave everything else behind to go get it. And this is someone that doesn't necessarily have the evidence for it, but they have the faith to believe for it, you know, and the faith to go find out. And that's the difference I feel in general, truly, between the have and have-nots in this season. You know, even those that may have a hell of a lot of money on hand, in the bank account, you know, in the wallet, in investments, in property, whatever the case may be, the ones that truly are having life abundantly in this season are the ones that would leave all of that behind, to know that every day that they wake up and go to sleep, they feel good about themselves, about what they do and how they're contributing their life force into this realm. There's a great difference in investment here, for sure. And that's ultimately the difference between that longevity of a life force from someone that's just ultimately, even with the most perhaps in the bank, will just have just enough to survive, looking at that harvest as like, it's all right. And the one that could have 1 pentacle, 1 dime in the bank and still feel like the richest man on the earth, you know? Which one holds the most value for you is really what the question comes down to, and is a very specific and unique question that only you can answer for your life. And when you do answer it, then that means that your lifestyle, your reactions, your actions get to line up accordingly to make that ideal make sense in a material form. God, I hope that made sense. I hope that made sense. I can't make it make no more sense at this point. I'm gonna have to leave it here. Take what of it as you will, what of it you will. You know what I mean. And yeah, and just keep doing what you're doing if it's working for you, I guess is what I could say. Like, I feel like right now, I know, right? I'm supposed to be done. But I feel like the contention is that there's so, even that me watching that show, I had to really like ground myself. Like, you are not allowing this propaganda to infiltrate your spirit. No way. You know how to eat the meat and spit out the bones. And I feel like that's the energy that's infiltrating, the realm right now. It's like to really cause you to question, well, do I really want all that? Do I really need all of that? Am I really worthy of all that? Do I really want to live there? Do I even really need to, live the life of my dreams? What does that even mean? Is that even realistic? Does that, because Neptune is direct now, we don't have the dreamy state to kind of filter our wildest dreams. It's like the shock and all of like, oh my God, can I live my dreams? What am I doing here? Have I been doing this all wrong all this time? Oh my God, what do I do? It's like you could be really confronting that concept, right now. You could be confronting that. I know I'm not saying it for no reason, so I feel like it's important for me to say that as much as you continue to work in the practical way and create your plan and be real about your life, that there has to be a place for what is beyond tangibility, or else it will never be, right? If you can only hope for what you can see, then that's kind of like the place of contempt right there, or confinement, however you want to look at it. And I feel like that would be the adverse's energy, like final stand, to make you feel like you've been a fool to think beyond it, beyond what you can truly materialize and measure all this time. Like it hasn't been so as of yet, so why would you even continue with that belief beyond this point? To really confront you with that falsehood right now would be a powerful stance. So I feel like that's why I'm here, to really push the support that everything that you've idealized, as fantastical as it may be. I think I posted something on the community tab a while back. It was a repost from somebody else, that if the vision wasn't possible, you never would have had it. No matter how grand or out of this world it may seem, if it wasn't possible, if it wasn't due to you, if it wasn't a part of your destiny in some way, shape, or form, you would never have connected to that concept. So don't let anything that will want to steal your joy, steal your hopes and dreams, even steal your practicality of your faith, meaning the activity toward the manifestation of whatever that gets to be, to impose a roadblock in that regard as well. You stay on your throne, knowing that you're well protected, and the best thing that you can do for yourself is to maintain the vision and not let it die. To maintain the vision and to maintain the visualization of yourself within the vision, not as a distant idea outside of you, but as something that is very much a part of you and working from the inside out, magnetizing, as a matter of fact, from your inner force within. Okay, so I hope that brings more clarity and sums up what I think I've been trying to say. I don't even know anymore. Tomorrow's another day, so take this one as you will. And I love you. I do, because I do this for the love, for sure, because clearly I'm not getting paid in the material form to be, so devoted. So trust me when I say it's a labor of love to just want to convey the highest, expression of light to you in every single way I can possibly do so. So that's my intention, whether you receive it or not. I know you receive something, so I won't even play like that. But I know you receive something, but what I'm trying to transmit certainly is with the intention of it really adding value to your present life experience, which is what matters most. Don't worry about what's past. Don't be eager about the future. Just focusing on what's happening, where you are right now, what you can do about it, and forget about what you can't. Really, in spirit and in truth. All right. Again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.